we're using artificial intelligence to find zip code by zip code, like who has the propensity and the probability of succeeding at these really hard things.
Hey, welcome to Word Money, the show devoted to supporting our brother and sister veterans. I'm Patrick Murphy.
And I'm Dan Kunze.
Today, we have a great American, former Marine Colonel, Commander. He is now head of talent strategy for R4 Technologies. Please welcome to Word Money, Tyler Zagurski. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
I appreciate it.
All right, we do the bottom line up front, bottom line question up front. You know, why does R4 Technologies hire our veterans?
Yeah, it's a great question. R4 was created by the founders of Priceline, about 12 years in the commercial sector. And about 3 years ago, they pivoted into defense and national security. So hired veterans like myself and others. We're committed to doing more. We've got sort of a growing profile within the defense industry using artificial intelligence. And the thing that's interesting is, and I tell guys this, like I was an infantry officer. I went to Arizona State University. I'm not a deep tech AI guy, but I do consider myself a technologist. You know, we're at a golden age of technology where it's not so much about writing code or figuring out the X's and O's or ones and zeros. You need folks with like deep domain expertise to help craft what do solutions look like? What problems are we trying to solve? What's the language we use in this domain to really understand and get at hard problems? Because we have technology that can help, but sometimes it's all just talking past each other.
Yeah, not only that, but like as an infantry officer, you understand the operator, the end user problems, right?
Right.
And you've spent your entire career learning how to integrate machines with people, with problems, to solve problems in real world environments. And oftentimes, and
you've seen it fall short
in the Marine Corps, under-resourced and underappreciated.
We had to steal it from the Army if we needed anything.
We all steal it from the Air Force, so it's all right. But it's like it's an awesome kind of use case that you're describing of why military folks, despite all their leadership stuff, also have an advantage and be able to integrate technology in their daily life.
Yeah, and so it was a great question to start with because I'm proud of R4 for what they're doing. I'm proud to bring on more brothers and sisters, but it's kind of a lesson for small, mid businesses everywhere. Veterans, and you guys know this because you work in this world, we don't always know what we're good at when we leave.
How many folks do you guys have?
We just acquired a whole nother sector. So, I mean, 100 plus, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
and how many people are kind of in the defense business?
Yeah, it's probably a quarter of those are in the a growing defense sector, right? Yeah. And so, you know, when the music stops and you've done 15, 20, 25, 30 years, I remember calling some friends saying, I don't know what I do.
Yeah.
Not what I want to do. What do I do?
Yeah.
I don't know how any of this translates to the real world. So it's great to see, you know, really agile commercial companies who can solve problems, bringing on veterans and, you know, helping them help them, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at like there's 200,000 veterans that transition from active service to veterans every year. And you did that. I mean, listen, you were the commander of Marine Barracks, Washington.
Yeah.
So for those of us who served and lived in Washington, 8th and I is a legendary post. I mean, tell us about that and how that set you up for town strategy.
Well, so the whole 8th and I is a great story. You know, that's a command that's selected, and it wasn't on my radar. This is actually a funny story. The last time I had been to 8th and I, when I got selected to command there, was probably 20 years previous. Maybe more, because the last time I was there, I was a lieutenant, and I brought my then girlfriend to see a Friday parade.
There you go.
And this is back when that part of D.C. really wasn't that safe, right? And they used to bring you up on a bus, and some gunny'd be like, get off the bus, go straight in the barracks, you're not allowed outside. So when I got selected for 8th and I, it's an honor, of course. I mean, the commandant selects that. It's a big deal. But I immediately thought, oh, my wife's not going to like this. At that point, we had four boys at home. We lived in a quiet suburb of Northern Virginia. And so it's funny because I went home and I asked my wife, I said, well, let's go for a walk. And she's like, something's up, right? And so we went for a walk, and I said, hey, I got some good news. And she's like, oh, I said, I got selected for command. She's like, oh, that's great. Is it Pendleton or Lejeune, I said, it's even better than that. It's 8th and I, and she, with tears rolling down her face, she goes, oh, I'm proud of you, but I don't want to live at 8th and I. The reality is that that whole part of DC has turned around. And in reality, what a honorific thing to do. I didn't realize all the things 8th and I does, to include all the funerals at Arlington. Just a very special place. A couple of the best years I had in the Marine Corps. Really honored to have been there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
You mentioned your boys. You have 4 boys.
Yeah.
Your oldest followed your footsteps, is a Marine F-35 pilot.
F-35 pilot.
When you look at the stats, though, 53% of Americans would not recommend military service to their sons or someone they're close to, or sons or daughters, or someone they're close to. And most of our recruits, Marine soldiers, et cetera, 78% of them come from military families.
Yeah.
Why did your son join, and how does that make you feel?
It's a great question. I was sharing a story earlier. All my sons grew up in the service, and I think they have a deep respect for the Marine Corps and the service. But at the time, I was trying to talk my son into joining, and he really didn't want to. He went off to his freshman year at University of Virginia and fell in with some really great young men and women who were in ROTC, and he sort of got the flavor of it, other than just seeing Dad, right? And so he came back, said, I think I want to fly in the Marine Corps. And I said, I'm super proud of you. Like, just know every day in the Marine Corps is a competition. If you're going to do it, you got to do it all day, every day. My other sons haven't followed suit yet. My youngest is looking at both of the academies and has a strong interest in service. So I think, to your statistic and point, we've got this cast of veterans and their networks and their lineage that are producing, more of our warriors, generation by generation. But one of the reasons R4 got into talent management is that very point. I mean, propensity to serve is at an all-time low. Something south of 25% of young men and women are even qualified based on obesity, drug use, whatever. So you've got this really shrinking pool. We're using artificial intelligence to find zip code by zip code, like who has the propensity and the probability of succeeding at these really hard things.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like and you guys are dual use, and you guys have a commercial business, you have a government business, you have a defense business, you have a public sector and the government business, right? Like I'm at a point now where I think that every role that you fill is a actual national security kind of job, right? And whether you do dual use, like commercial side, or you do something else, like our ability to find and put people into talent roles becomes a national security imperative, because like economic freedom and economic stability is one of the stability levers for us to be nationally secure, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something in national security, I really ask what you're doing, because it's really hard for me to see the difference. And I think, to your point, like your company that pivoted into defense, it was because you saw an opportunity there to leverage capabilities across different segments.
Yeah, 100%. That sort of readiness, that people readiness, right? That boils right up to essential national interest.
I think so,
very
too.
quickly.
Yeah.
And the different approach that the company takes is this is not multi-year, hundreds of millions of dollar contracts that sort of explode under their whole weight. This is commercial, proven software that is dual use. It's configured and adapted to solve military problems. So it's software as a service. And if you look at policy from sort of White House memos, SecDef memos, the new acquisition strategy, I mean, this is the direction they're going. Stop with these $100 billion contracts.
It's not only that. It's not only that, but it's also you need people that understand the. So we talked about Detachment 214 in our last show, right? Yeah. Great organization. You bring in these amazing people from commercial life. They don't know jack about the Department of Defense.
Right.
And they don't realize the Army's going to roll along. It doesn't care about how big or how great your company was, right?
Machine keeps going.
So it's going to keep going, and it's going to replace you as fast as you come in, right? And I think that's the uniqueness of a military member, is like they understand the bureaucracy. Yeah. They also understand how to get things done in bringing commercial technology. And that's why oftentimes commercial tech companies fail so mightily getting into defense.
They do. You look at a good commercial company providing, let's say, AI solutions for commercial problems, they're super focused on the business user. What problems do you have? What are the pain
Except
points?
you can't get into business.
Yeah, but you pivot that to the defense, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the user
Yeah,
and
totally.
their business case, their use case, and I always say this, like it's not ROI in my mind is readiness, right? We're
100%.
driving readiness, and sometimes companies look at defense and national security and they want to try to, they're wrap themselves around the axle trying to figure out what's the ROI if we pitch to these guys. ROI is readiness.
Yeah,
We're making you
100%.
more ready.
Right. And again, it boils down to even what we say in the Army and the Marine Corps. Mission first, people.
100%.
Yeah. So listen, we're gonna stop now. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this break on Warrior Money. Hey, welcome back to Warrior Money. I'm Patrick Murphy, and we're here with former Marine Colonel Tyler Zagurski. Tyler, you're executive at R4 Technologies. Before the break, we were chatting about, that propensity to serve.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but, you're proud of your son, who's a Marine as well, like you. My daughter is doing Air Force ROTC down at Clemson. I couldn't be more proud. When you ask Americans, the majority of Americans would not recommend military service to their sons and daughters or someone they're close to, according to a 2024 Pew study. But you also ask folks, hey, how many veterans do you think are injured? They think the majority of veterans who serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, that the majority of them will get physically injured. And they also think, when you say, well, how many do you think lost a limb? They'll say 3 million.
Yeah.
There's only 1.9 million of us that serve in Iraq, Afghanistan, like you and I did.
Right.
Where's the disconnect?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think there's this element of sort of, popular culture and movies, and this becomes a political thing that sort of goes up and down. And I think you're 100% right. Folks who don't really have a connection to the military, in the current generation, kind of get this perception that, they're all getting slaughtered in Iraq and Afghanistan, or they all end up destitute or whatever. And as well as I do, it's not true. I mean, we built the greatest military in the world, and you and I both served with them. These are some of the brightest, most well-adjusted young men and women you'll ever meet. I mean, they're amazing, day in and day out.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I was talking about the contrast of, you have the pageantry a couple weeks ago of the Army-Navy game. Congratulations, Navy won by 17-16. I was there.
Great game.
But, you have the pageantry and people are like, oh my God, look, this is great, and the military is one of the most, if not the most well-respected profession in America. But at the same time, it's not for their sons and daughters. It's for other kids to serve.
Yeah, and it points to the importance of recruiting and retention, and we talked before the break, propensities down, people have this negative attitude. Our services are, a national treasure. And I get that sons and daughters are a family's treasure, and it's hard to sort of give them over to that service. But you and I have both seen firsthand sort of the virtuous side of service. I'll tell a quick story. When I left college, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. With a college degree, because I didn't know what I was doing in life. I was adrift fully. And I tell this story. The first night I went to boot camp's not fun. It's a nightmare. But I knew the second I got there, I said, I'm never leaving here. Because these are people who tell you what they mean what they say, their structure. I'm like, this is the structure and values that I've been yearning for my whole young life. And I think of the same sort of virtuous thing for our young men and women.
Yeah. And I love the fact that I know you're a graduate of Arizona State University, 1990 grad. That is the home of Pat Tillman and his brother, Kevin Tillman. Tell us about Pat Tillman, and I know you went back there doing the SkillBridge program. Tell us about that experience, what SkillBridge is.
Yeah, so SkillBridge is a great program for veterans hosted by Chamber of Commerce where service members on their last 6-8 months of active duty can get approval to go with a partner, whether that's, a large business, small business. In my case, it was Arizona State University. And you can do a fellowship that can lead to employment. And so it's a great chance to get experience for people that are transitioning out. I spent 3 months at Arizona State kind of advising them on military affairs and military learning, but one of the key features, of course, was the Tillman Center. We all know the story of his bravery and service. And I look at schools like Arizona State who are doing a tremendous job of putting the right resources in place to not only attract veterans onto campus, but to help them succeed there. just like we talked about earlier, sometimes the veteran doesn't not sure what I'm doing here at college. It's nice to have a Tillman Center that has resources. Other veterans are there. There's mentorship. There's coaching. And so I'm very proud of what they do there.
Yeah, I just did the intro for the new class of the SkillBridge Fellows to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Hiring Heroes. And if you don't know about it, like you said, you go, it's free chicken. It's free chicken for you. You're still getting employed, paid by the Department of Defense, but also you're free chicken for these companies, and it's a tryout. It's for tryout for you. Does this work for you?
Everybody
and your family?
gets to kick the tires.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a great program. Hey, I really want to talk to you about one of the major initiatives that you have. It's called Humans at the Helm. It's this AI concept. Walk us through what that Human at the Helm stands for.
Yeah, so particularly in the defense sector, we've got solutions that are primarily focused on precision sustainment, precision logistics, predictive logistics, and talent management, helping services, find, recruit, develop, and retain the right talent. But one of our sort of first principles at R4 is humans at the helm. And I tell folks this isn't some automated, kill chain. This is using diverse data sets to help leaders kind of see and make sense of these complex data environments, but it never takes a human out of the helm. It's decision intelligence, right? And so processes are the same, workflows can be the same. We're just helping them see things in data that never takes a human out of the helm, and we think that's important.
Yeah, but your experience with AI when you're in the Pentagon or when you were in the Marine Corps was somewhat different. I mean, because I get frustrated. People think AI is like Chat GPT, which it is, but it's so much deeper and more rich than just that.
Yeah, so I think of this honestly as like the golden age of AI. And I was telling you earlier, when I left active service just a few years ago, I was almost fatigued and confused about AI, right? Everybody's running around talking about it. I need some AI, I don't know what it is. And then you combine that with some confusion with just large language models, right? Chat GPT. And I'll share this. I was at a trade show recently with a pretty senior panel talking about AI. And it dawned on me 5 minutes into it, they're just talking about Chat GPT. When I talk about AI, we're talking about the diverse data sets that the Department of War is drowning in, right? Just look at the talent side. The recruitment has data. There's performance and evaluation data. There's retention data. There's all this data that never gets sort of combined in a way so that you can see and make sense of a human.
Yeah.
The same way a tank, operates in different environments, different people maintain it. It goes on different mission sets. It has different parts. All that data gets sort of stuffed away. And so when I think about AI, large language models can be a key input to it, but this is much more than that.
Yeah. How about as far as when obviously you're head of talent at R4 Technologies, 100 folks, you have colleagues. When you advise transitioning troops, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're Marines, soldiers, et cetera, and they're trying to find that new job.
Yeah.
There's a difference, a balance between salary and equity. What are some things that you advise them or walk them through?
I'll be honest, and I do this quite a bit with folks that reach out to me. I'm all about fit. And I've told guys multiple times, guys and gals, don't worry about the salary as much as finding something you want to do and a fit that's for you.
Yeah.
But certainly there are situations where that balance between salary and equity becomes important.
Yeah. And how about as far as for troops, we've had folks on the show talking about, hey, I'm a veteran, I want to get into tech.
Yeah.
What's the quickest way for a veteran or transitioning service member to upskill into defense tech or tech overall?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number. Here's the downside of that. There's a lot of predatory folks, institutions. I get them in my emails all the time for, $15,000. I can get this high-end sort of certification. The reality is there's a lot of free things. Google, Microsoft. There's also some very credible institutions that have, certificates in the basics in AI or coding or cloud or whatever it is you're interested in. So I would tell folks, look at the free certifications, and then maybe every couple years, look at a higher end certification from, a credible organization. But don't jump into the first email you get that says, you can get this online credential for $20,000.
Yeah, right.
And the other thing I would know, we talked about this earlier, credentials are important, learning is important, but I also tell veterans, don't dismiss how valuable you are in the tech world just with your domain expertise and understanding.
Yeah.
Some of the credentialing and certifications can come. Look at simple things like program management. I would say all of you, NCOs and officers who've served X number of years, Dominus Ominous, you are a program manager.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's funny because they don't have, some of them don't have that confidence. And
They don't.
And they say, well, I never worked in the private sector. I'm like, time out.
Right.
What the Army, we're a Fortune 2 size company. And
Right.
Corps is huge, right? And I say, you work for a Fortune 2 size company. You've worked all around technology, but too many of our brothers and sisters are underselling themselves when it comes to technology.
Yeah, and part of that is that just that translation to I did this thing, I did it really well in a huge, complex organization, a large enterprise. What are the words that mean these words over here? Well, it turns out you were actually like an operations manager. You're equivalent to a COO, or you're equivalent of a program manager. You did those things.
Yeah. It's why I also talk about faith, family, and finances, right? And so I know you're really proud of your wife, your 4 kids, your 4 boys. What piece of advice do you give to your brothers or veterans or your own sons to live a purpose-driven like you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that just goes back to being yourself, being genuine. But within that, like I told my oldest son, every day is a competition, particularly when you get into the Army or the Marine Corps. You're not going to just sort of slide through. You're getting evaluated. And so you need to, every day's qual day, they used to say in the Marine Corps. You need to bring your best. And so, I love to see people with an air of genuineness, but always also striving to be better.
Yeah. How about as far as financially? What do you do now? Obviously, I know you're doing art for technology as an executive, but, do you invest? Do you just have the 401k? Do you have your TSP? If you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't mind sharing all of the above. And I think I'm like a lot of veterans where I started late, not too late, but I started late. And so I look at like my oldest son now. I think as soon as he got commissioned or went to OCS, we pulled out the TSP brochure and I said, look, here's how it works. You can do X%. You'll never miss it because you'll never see it. And so that's another conversation with veterans to have. Like, you may not think you're making a lot or have extra, but every little bit counts. And the earlier you start, the better. And so, I'm at a point now, I'm fortunate enough to have, a portfolio of things and ways and make it work for itself. But this. I mean, if you started at 25, even if it was $50 a month going somewhere, you look at what that pot would be, and people don't realize it. I went through service. We were single income. My wife and I chose that she would raise the kids, which I don't regret, and it was the right choice. But it forces you to kind of look at your own finances and have some foresight and say, what things are we doing now that we're going to be glad we did when we're 50, 55, 60?
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. I don't believe in bad debt and stuff like that, and I don't believe in credit cards. I mean, I use credit cards, but I pay them off each month.
It's just a pass through, Yeah.
And I think it's really important for our brothers to just know that, and it's okay to talk about it and work through it with your loved ones, with your financial advisor, or with your friends. And to make sure that you're on the right fiscal track. Hey, Tyler, we got to wrap it up, Joe.
Yeah.
So listen, Tyler Zagurski, thank you so much for joining us on Warrior Money. We appreciate it. It's Christmas week. I wore the green jacket for that reason. You're a great American, and you continue to serve our nation out in uniform. We just want to say thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for what you do. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, so that wraps up this week's edition of Warrior Money. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Patrick Murphy. Please check out Warrior Money wherever you get your podcasts, including Yahoo Finance. So with that wraps up Warrior Money. Hope to see you soon.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.